9 a.m. session of the House Commerce Committee. This is going to be a time where we'll talk about our liaison that we have with each one of our committees, as well as hear from our two University of Vermont interns. Today we have a special guest attending our little short session, and perhaps Representative Mulvaney Stanek would like to introduce them.
I would. So this is Maeve Gilbert, who's visiting from Jericho. So actually, Representative Granning, official constituent, but is a guest of a constituent of mine, which is Becca McBroom, who lives in my district. And she's visiting the State House for the second time. Last time was a few years ago. And is interested in seeing what we all do. So please be kind and show that we are the best committee.
Yeah.
Welcome. So just a few, our sort of short agenda today will be to hear from our committee interns, talk about the committee liaisons, and then discuss a committee dinner. So why don't we kick off with our University of Vermont interns, Allie and Ben, and why don't you both come up to the table at the same time. So nice to have you in person. Last year, Kate and Ben were here and only on Zoom. I think one time they were able to make it in person. So it's nice to have you here with us.
Yeah, so we're just going to introduce ourselves quickly. My name is Allie Schaefer. I'm a senior at EVM. I study environmental studies. I have interest in sustainable development, sustainable economics. So really excited to be here with you all this session. Do you want to introduce?
So my name is Ben Donspach. I am a senior at UVM, a political science major and a sociology minor. I'm originally from Brunswick, Maine, which is where Bowdoin College is. It's kind of the landmark everyone knows. I'm really interested in eventually studying foreign policy, but I found the best way to fully understand how policy affects the people is to study at a state and local level. So this is actually my second year interning for the legislature. I was an intern for Senator Randy Brock in the last session. And I'm really excited to, see how this experience differs and get a lot more kind of understanding of policy. I am also the TA for the legislative internship program through UVM. So I'm just going to give a little explanation of what our program is. So it's organized by the school, but it is run by Elizabeth First Raddick, who was a former committee assistant for this committee. So a few of you guys probably know her, and she's amazing. She organized this program. I believe this is the third year running. It started during COVID, like 2020. So this is the first time that we're kind of in for like a full in-person session, which is really exciting. In previous years, as Representative Jerome mentioned, interns were not really able to get here. I only traveled to the State House once last session, but we were requiring every intern to come here once a week. So you will most likely see a lot of interns walking around. Please feel free to introduce yourselves. One of the reasons we're here is to get connections, further our career, hopefully in Vermont. So, please, if you see an intern walking around, say hi, introduce yourself. We're telling them to do the same. So, so basically the way it works is students and legislators both apply respectively. We do our best to match the best fits. It is a tricky process. I did it this year. But, we want to make sure everyone has the best experience. And then once you're matched, you go through a session. We have a class attached. It's all about just, giving the legislator, giving the intern the best experience they can. And then the intern basically serving as, you guys don't have staff, serving as your staff and doing everything we can to make your job a little easier. This is the third time, correct, that this committee has done had two interns working with them. The way this committee does it is actually what we're hoping to transition to for the entire program, which is where, we will go and watch primarily economic development meetings, but we were also going to each cover two caucuses and then cover other committee meetings when relevant. Take notes on anything that is relevant to the work you guys are doing, and then give about 15 minutes-ish to report back to you every Friday with anything we think would be helpful for you to know. We're trying to eventually have every committee sign up for, or most committees sign up for an intern rather than doing it individual by legislators. So that every committee, has a resource that can go out and take notes. And, we will also do research projects for you throughout the semester when needed. So if, you really like us, having us as a resource, and next year you're interested in mentoring an intern yourself, keep that in mind when the time comes. Applications usually come out around like October-ish. So, that's
good. So thank you. So just to give everyone a little summary about how we're going to run this is that I meet with Ally and Ben on Tuesday mornings, and we go over, look at the week's agenda for the Senate and see what's happening with that. And then Ben is going to be following the Rural Caucus and the
Social
Equity Caucus, and Ally will be following the Women's Caucus and the Climate Solutions Caucus. If there are, and they'll be coming back to us with any thing that's relevant from those caucus groups. And like last legislative session, all those caucus groups had workforce development and economic development pieces in them. So it may not seem relevant, at a sort of a superficial level, but they are. And what I would think it would be great is that when you take your notes, you email them to us or email them to Andrew, and then Andrew can make sure that we get them, whatever I think is easier, so that we're not waiting until Friday. So that as you're getting your work done, we're kind of on top of things. But I did want to let the committee know that if there are things that you think that the intern should be addressing during the course of the week, just text me and let me know, and I'll make sure to address them on Tuesday. So that they're doing what we need to have them help us with. And just as for Ben and Ally's reference, Ben Berry last legislative session did a little more in-depth work on film commissions in the U.S. and the state of Vermont, and then we used that work in the Film Commission's task force. So it's this work that the research that the interns can do is really relevant to our work in the future, and we had no idea that was going to happen at the time. But it's actually in the appendices of the task force report that we are going to be submitting in about a week. I was wondering if you guys were getting UVM name tags. Will interns be getting a tag or a badge so that it'd be identifiable?
Yep, we just got pictures last Monday for ID badges, and we should be getting those either next week or the week after. We don't really, so our classes actually officially start next week, but this year we took initiative and decided to do it as a winter class, so we officially started back on December 26th. But we're not back really in person meeting every week until next, not Martin Luther King Day, but the following Monday. So we'll probably have them around then.
All right, terrific. It just helps everyone in the house to know who is an intern.
Yeah, definitely.
So you want to go ahead and just talk a little bit about what, I know it's a little bit of a light week, but if you want to just talk a little bit about what happened this week.
Yeah, I can start us off. Okay. So I covered Wednesday's Senate Economic Development meetings. The committee met with the Department of Labor, which I believe this committee's meeting with later today. So I'll just kind of briefly run through. The discussion centered around workforce recovery from the pandemic. We spoke a lot about equal opportunity and accessibility within the DOL as a top priority. As well as Senator Clarkson of the Senate committee brought up the potential modernization of the IT systems as a top priority, as it can kind of, she spoke about how it can hamper some creativity around these issues. So yeah, that's kind of just a brief run through of the DOL meeting. I also covered the Department of Financial Regulations meeting that met on Wednesday. There were some presentations on the success of captive insurance in Vermont, as we are the #1 domicile in the U.S. actually. So they spoke about tax premiums that are coming in this year, some success that Vermont has due to the high standards that we hold around captive insurance, and how responsive and accessible these standards are around insurance, and how it brings in valuable businesses to state. So those are kind of the highlights this week.
Okay, thank you.
So I covered yesterday's meeting, which they met with the Vermont Association of Planning and Development Agencies, which covered primarily RPCs and RDCs. And then they also met with the ACCD. I know you met with basically the exact same people who
Yep.
they met with on Wednesday. And then I believe you also met with someone going over the RCPs. So I'll kind of stick to more what the actual committee was asking rather than, the content
Oh,
of.
good idea.
So just one interesting thing that came up in the VAPD conversation with RCPs was the 4 economic development districts that they're trying to have the entire state covered by economic development districts within the next, I believe, year or 2 years. And there are right now 2 counties covered in the south in one district. There are 6 counties in the north in one district, and then the Upper Valley. And then they're working on a 4th district, which would cover the 4 regions. And it would basically go from Rutland through Trenton up to Montpelier. And then as far as I'll move on to most of the committee questions were with the ACCD. Senator Brock requested a report on where the ACC stands with federal money that they got during COVID. So he wants to know how much and where is it going. He wants to know what's left and is uncommitted and available for other projects, and a clear picture of where the chain of COVID money is at currently.
It's really important.
Yep. And then, so I'm going to keep an eye out for that for the next 2 weeks. I think that's when they kind of gave the picture when they would get it to him, and I'll, forward it to Representative Jerome.
Yep, that would
I get it.
great. Yep.
And then, Brock asked another question. It was concerning the Vermont economic growth incentives. So he was asking about demographic and what is being done to evaluate the demographic crisis, and whether the incentive program is the right thing to be looking at this time.
You talk about the sunset. It's going to sunset in 2024.
Yes, I believe they did cover that. And he said that we shouldn't be looking at the labor force as fixed with no way to increase. And we don't know what the alternative is to incentives for jobs. So kind of, figuring out basically how effective incentives are. And so as a Democrat, because we do have an aging population here and the workforce issue has been, major. The economic community did say, economic development committee did say that they would be mainly focusing on a big housing bill first, and then moving on to economic development issues kind of after that. I think they're starting the housing bill next week. So probably late January is when there will be more relevancy to this committee, and we'll keep an eye out for that.
Okay.
And I believe there was one more question asked by Senator Hinsdale or Ram Hinsdale. There was a request for a retrospective report on the state designation program reform. It was asking to track development improvements to the programs over the last 25 years, which was a pretty wide range from my opinion. So there was kind of hesitancy on whether they would be able to cover that much time.
Okay.
So.
And that was housing?
That was covering housing community development. So I don't know whether that would be really too relevant to this, but.
Community development would be.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Very good. Any questions for Ally and Ben? one comment, we do have, our first bill is H10, which is addressing the veggie program, the Vermont Economic Growth Incentive Program. So it looks like both the Senate and the House are very interested in seeing where that changes can be made to that program. Great. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your coming in today. And so you'll be in the House for the most of the day or just for a couple hours?
Yeah, so most Fridays, I think my plan, and I think you're about the same, is we're gonna get here around 8, be hanging around the cafeteria just to get ready, and then come in here and then stay until around noon. Today, I think we both have to leave a little bit earlier, so we'll probably leave after this meeting. But we will be around on Fridays, at least until lunchtime.
And do you already have plans from 8 to 9?
That's just kind of a time for us to get together, compare what we've done, kind of just prepare for, meeting with you guys.
I saw a free hour. I guess I'll raise that. Okay. Well, maybe sometime some of us will try to have breakfast with you in the morning
Yeah,
and
definitely. Be happy to.
get to know you a little bit better. But so great. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here. And then you can hang out there or sit on the side, whatever you feel like doing. We're going to just talk a little bit more about a couple of things that we're going to address. So, thank you. And remember that Tuesday mornings I meet with them. Let me know if there's anything you would like me to bring to their attention or to address. So, and so that's a couple other things that we need to talk about. And that is our liaisons with our, that's plural, but that we will liaison with each one of the committees in the House, and that every Friday, if there are relevant issues that are going on in those committees, that you just come and bring them back to us, like a few sentences. It's not a big report. And either check in with chair or a friend that you have on the committee, or make a new friend, or find someone who is on that committee and just see what the status is. So let me go down through the list and see where I think I'll keep off the appropriations and ways and means, and just we'll just look at the other ones first. Okay. So let me know if you are interested in the Agriculture, Food, Resilience, and Forestry Committee. Does anyone have an affinity to that? Jonathan. Good, Jonathan. Corrections and institutions. Did I do that? Okay. Oh, I see this one. Okay, great. And education?
Are we gonna be doing more than one?
Well, we can go through it first. I'll come back to that one. Environment and energy. Okay, general and housing, okay, Emma. Good. Your favorites. Government operations and military affairs. Oh, both want you wanna like rock, paper, scissors? How do you want to do that?
Yeah.
I'm the old man.
I'm specifically interested because of all the digital crossover and the ADS stuff. And when we're talking about like Department of Labor and like tying all the systems together, it sounds like I'm really into that. That's why.
Healthcare. Oh, we had 3.
Whoa.
Oh.
Because I worked with them last session.
Oh, you did, and you have.
For nurse.
I'm a nurse and I have a master's in community health.
You can have it.
Is that okay? You okay with that, Jared?
I mean, I know somebody that's on it, but I mean, she's way more qualified.
Okay.
I'm not gonna try and argue that.
All right, good. All right. Then we have human services.
Think about it again if nobody else really wants it.
You want that one?
Yeah, I'm gonna agree.
Okay, that's. And judiciary. Okay, Jim, yeah, that's an interesting one too. Transportation.
I'll be your guy.
Okay, Jared. All right, good. All right.
Have roads and Castleton, right?
And let's
Roads
see who
everywhere.
is left. Does everybody have something? Kirk, did you have something? All right, so Kirk, we have left education, environment and energy.
That's what you had last session, right?
That last session.
Actually,
I'm happy to do it again.
Which one's that?
environment and energy.
Environment and
Okay.
energy.
Yeah, the old the old form that it was in.
Okay.
And I
is
can
that-
take education because I have an intern watching it.
I was gonna
No,
say, if you don't want to do it, I can do two.
I have an intern who will be watching it for me anyway.
Great.
If that's helpful, but
Great.
school board chair, I totally.
I am happy to not.
Okay.
The whole
And then,
point was to not stay in the same world.
Yeah, okay.
We'll
All right.
just reinforce.
and then do you want to split probes and finance?
I can do, let's see if we have everyone.
I can do finance,
Yeah, what do we have left?
or ways and means, I mean.
Human service. Yeah, I can do ways and means
All right,
and,
then we'll all kind of do a probes, I guess.
right. Right, let's do that. We'll give a purpose to Mike. No,
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
I think Charlie had it last session, but it was kind of, I mean, it's,
Oh,
we're all gonna talk about probes with respect to the committees that we're otherwise liaised with. You kind of want to follow the approach that are in that committee too. Because the approach is just so big.
You know what, why don't we put, Logan, you and I will be on both that
Yeah,
one, okay?
Yeah.
And then human services, just because you have
oh yeah,
such a background in it.
yeah, and I know, still half of the people at
Yeah,
least were
that'd
on
be
there
great.
when I was there.
Then okay, I'm sorry, Heather.
Oh, I would just like to have a brief explanation of the expectation. Like, what would you like us to come back to? Look at what they're doing every week, their agendas.
Yeah,
But
so-
could you help me with that a little bit?
Sure, so what I typically would do is look at their agenda for the week. And it may be very clear that there's something related to workforce or economic development or insurances or, something that is under our purview. I mean, they won't be, because it's our purview, they're not gonna be delving into our work, but they may have things that will touch on what we do. So I look at the agenda and then I go speak to my contact in that committee and just say, I'm gonna report back. Is there anything that seems relevant to commerce?
Great, okay.
That's it.
Important to know.
All right, just
I mean, almost,
sure.
I think every committee does this.
Okay,
I don't remember who started it, but in my time, I don't think we did it really at first, and then we sort of got into it. And so they will have a representative that's, gonna be trying to report back on what we're doing too. And so your role is also just to let them know, like, this bill might come to you, or this bill might be of interest in a certain way, and, why.
okay,
There are bills do often come to committees. I mean, even if it's not official, sometimes somebody will have a bill that, like, we do what we call a drive-by, which is like, we're not gonna officially take possession, but we wanna know what it is and see if there's any language that we would suggest they change because that's statute that we normally work on or something like that. And so that can be another avenue where it's like, you really need to make sure that, like, if we wanna do a drive-by.
okay.
And that's a situation that might come to Mike and say like, oh, this bill is really interesting and I think the committee would really want to know about it. It's going to be coming to the floor soon. They're voting it out of committee and, next week.
So it eliminates the surprise factor, like, we don't wanna get to the floor and like, wow, we should have been looking at
Yeah.
that bill too. So it just helps with communications. Other committees do this maybe a little better, like, I've been, in the 4 years that I've been on this committee, we've always done this.
Okay.
And because we have this set aside time on Friday mornings, it's good because we keep it going. It doesn't drop as a good intention, but we've kept it going through the entire legislative session.
Thank you.
I was just gonna add, because I just wanna see if one of you cover this, occasionally, not all the time, of course, occasionally, if there is something that is really clearly crossing over, of course, checking in with committee leadership, but sometimes we sit in on that committee to just
Exactly.
hear what's happening in real time on a bill, because it's just more helpful than trying to, well, we don't have a lot of free time. I don't know if you picked that up yet in this new job. But it's harder to go back and find time to watch YouTube. Maybe others can do that, but it's sometimes better to go just hear what's happening and see who's in the room.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and so in that case, you would just, if that committee is going on at the same time, our committees, you would just go and leave and just listen in.
Okay,
Do that.
good. Thank you.
Sure, yeah, thank you. And so we'll get this, and I'll give this list to Andrew. He may already have it, but, and we'll distribute to everybody. One last thing before we, go to the floor is that we would like to have a committee dinner. So just to get to know everybody a little bit better, so increase our camaraderie. and amongst all of us, and sooner than later. Is there a particular, I think Andrew will send out a poll, but maybe, is there a night of the week that's a better night for you, for you? Tuesdays and Wednesdays are tough nights for me. I'm hoping that we could probably do a Wednesday, but Thursday's a little bit better for me. But Thursday's a night that most people can either arrange to stay in Montpelier or would be okay to stay.
I can, but not next Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just not okay next Thursday, but I'm good.
Okay,
But I can do it in a future.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what other.
okay. That would be, okay, so maybe so tentatively, can you we'll let Mike know that next what is that Thursday?
The 19th is
The 19th?
bad,
So
right?
not, yeah, the
Yeah.
19th.
Not the 19th.
Bad,
Yep.
it's
But the
the
26th
Yeah,
is
the
good.
26th is good, okay. And I'll think about it too, about what appropriate restaurants would sort of fit all of us
Somewhere in town, so we can drink.
and are all in town, so we'll just think about which restaurants would fit us and that'll go. Does that sound good with everybody?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, great. Well, thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate it. It was a really great morning.